Post one. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and it feels like my entire history with my best friend just got picked up, shaken, and dumped out in a pile I don't recognize. I'll call him Liam. My fiancé is Adam. We've been together 7 years, engaged for 6 months. Wedding is in 4. Liam and I met at 15. Classic opposites. I was the quiet library girl. He was loud and funny and always in trouble for talking. We got paired on a history project and basically never unpaired. High school, college, first apartments, breakups. If there was a crisis, odds were one of us was on the other's couch with cheap takeout. Everyone always had an opinion. Teachers, my mom, coworkers who met him once at a holiday party would ask, "Are you sure he's not in love with you?" I always rolled my eyes. "No, he's just protective." He dated, I dated. He showed up with ice cream when I sobbed over a terrible ex. I fixed his resume and listened to him rage about his boss. It felt safe. I honestly thought we were proof opposite-sex best friends could just be friends. Then I met Adam in 3rd year. Adam is quieter than Liam, more serious. IT guy, loves hiking, stress cooks. Our relationship was slow and rooted instead of fireworks. We had normal arguments, but we worked through them. He was the first man I could actually picture a life with. Liam was weird at first, not overtly rude, just nitpicky. He's really serious. "You sure you want someone that rigid?" I told him to cut it out, and to his credit, he mostly did. Over time, they even found a rhythm, watching games, trading memes. I filed that away as proof everyone was wrong and this could work. Last year, Adam proposed on a hike at our favorite lookout. I called Liam before I even told my mom. He sounded genuinely happy. "About time," he texted. Then he dove into wedding planning with us, venues, spreadsheets, tasting menus. It was helpful, but sometimes off. He'd complain the ceremony was too traditional or too much about Adam's family. And he hated our first dance song. He spent a whole night suggesting better ones, all about long-suffering friends and unrequited love. I laughed it off. I shouldn't have. The night everything snapped, we were putting down a non-refundable venue deposit the next morning. Liam texted, "Can we talk? Actually talk? Just us?" I assumed work drama or a breakup. That was our pattern. Instead, he sat on my love seat looking like he was going to a funeral and said, "You're making a mistake." My stomach dropped. "About the chicken or the beef?" I joked, because that's what I do when I panic. He didn't smile. "I mean, Adam, I can't watch you marry him without saying this. I've been trying to respect your choices, but I can't anymore." I already knew what was coming and still hoped I was wrong. "I've been in love with you for years," he said. It felt like someone had scribbled over every memory in permanent marker. He kept going. How he'd known since we were teenagers. How he stepped back when I started dating Adam, thinking I needed to get it out of my system. How it killed him to watch Adam take up space that should have been his. Every late night talk, every time I cried on his shoulder, all recast as proof we were meant to end up together. My brain split in half. One part cataloging details, his shaking hands, obviously rehearsed speech, and the other just repeating, "No, no, no." "Liam, I love you, but not like that," I said. "I'm marrying Adam. I want to marry Adam. You can't drop this on me now and expect me to—" "What? Call it off?" He looked hurt, then offended. "I expect you to think?" he said. "You're marrying him because it's safe. He talked you into that job you weren't sure about. He doesn't get your jokes half the time. You tell me things you don't tell him. You and I fit. You and he don't." Hearing him stack all my venting as evidence made me feel sick. Every time I'd complained about Adam, assuming I was talking to a neutral friend, he'd been keeping score. "I'm not leaving Adam," I said. "I'm not canceling my wedding. I don't want to be with you like that. If you've been waiting for that, I'm sorry, but it's not going to happen." "So you're choosing him," he said quietly, "over the person who's actually been there for you?" "That's not what this is," I said, but I could feel something fundamental breaking. He stood. "When he hurts you, and he will, remember I tried to warn you. I'm not going to stand there and smile while you walk into a mistake." And he left. I sat there for an hour, frozen. It felt like someone had opened a door I didn't know existed and all the air had changed. Telling Adam was brutal. He listened, jaw clenched, and I could see him replaying every interaction with Liam. He didn't yell. He just said, in a voice I'd never heard from him before, "He's not coming to our wedding." The next day, I texted Liam. I said I loved him as a friend. I was sorry if I'd ever given him false hope, but I was choosing my fiancé and my future. I told him he was not in the wedding party or guest list and that I needed space. He replied with a wall of text about being thrown away after giving you my whole youth, me choosing comfort over real love, and Adam isolating you from people who care. I stared at it until the words blurred, then blocked him. I thought that was the end. 2 days later, my mom called, crying. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. "Why is Adam trying to cut you off from your best friend? Why is he screaming at you in parking lots?" She forwarded me the message Liam had sent her and my siblings. 3 typed pages about how he'd watched Adam slowly isolate me, how he was terrified for me, how he had to speak up because abuse thrives in silence. He quoted arguments I'd vented about over the years, framed them all as Adam being controlling and me being too scared to leave. He said Adam was making me cut him off and that it was a classic tactic. Reading it felt like being stripped in public. Every messy fight I'd ever confided in him about was now part of a story where I was a victim and he was the lone hero. My mom's voice shook. "If even half of this is true, I can't just stand by," she said. "He says he's scared for you. Are you sure you're not just defending him?" So, am I the jerk for cutting off my best friend and banning him from the wedding after he confessed he's in love with me, and then started telling my family my fiancé is abusive? Update 1. I didn't expect this to follow me to work. After I posted, some comments said, block him and move on, but a lot asked if I'd actually cut him off. For clarity, at that point, I had him blocked on everything except email. My last message said he wasn't invited to the wedding and I needed space. Adam blocked him too. My family was split. My brother and cousins thought Liam was out of line. My mom and Aunt Margaret called it romantic. My mom kept saying, "He's worried about you, that's not wrong." I kept repeating, "Being worried is one thing. Sending a 3-page manifesto to my mother is another." I tried to compartmentalize. Wedding spreadsheets here, work there. Liam shoved in a mental box labeled "Do Not Open." Then HR emailed me. Subject: Quick check-in. My stomach dropped. It always does when HR emails you. I hoped it was a training reminder. It wasn't. In a tiny room with 2 bright lights, my HR rep, Jana, slid a printed email between us. "We received this on the general inbox," she said. "From a concerned party. I'm required to follow up." The email was from a burner address, but the wording was pure Liam. It described witnessing Adam screaming at your employee in the parking lot, me showing up to work visibly shaken and worrying for my safety. It urged the company to be aware of potential domestic abuse impacting job performance. Adam has never screamed at me in a parking lot. We've argued in public once or twice like normal stressed people, but nothing like what he described, and never outside my office. Jana was kind. "Is there anything you want to tell me? We can connect you with resources if you need them." I told her the truth. I'm engaged, we argue sometimes, there's never been violence, and someone in my life is reframing old arguments. I could hear how thin it sounded. She nodded. "We just needed to check. If anything ever changes, my door's open." By the time I got back to my desk, embarrassment had burned off into anger. It was one thing to send essays to my mom. Interfering with my job was something else. That night, I sent one email, copying my mom and brother so nobody could later claim I'd exaggerated. "Do not contact my employer again," I wrote. "Do not contact my fiancé's family. Do not send my family more messages about my relationship. If you are truly worried, talk to the police, not HR. Any further interference will be treated as harassment." He replied within an hour, no denial. He called it due diligence. "If they care about their employees, they should know if someone is in distress," he wrote. I was careful with my wording. I never lied. I described patterns I've watched for years. If that has consequences, maybe that says more about your relationship than me. He accused me of silencing him and choosing my abuser's version of events. He said he'd rather be the one everyone blames than stand by and do nothing. Adam watched my face as I read and said quietly, "Maybe it's time we talk to someone who knows where the legal line is." Enter Nina, a civil defamation/harassment lawyer a friend recommended. Her office had plants and a chipped mug, not a glass table and cigars. As I told the story, she got blotchy on the neck, angry on my behalf. She explained that people are allowed to have opinions. "I think your partner is bad for you isn't illegal, but emailing employers and in-laws and contacting exes can cross into harassment or interference, especially if he's presenting speculation as fact." "Do you want to sue him?" she asked, "or do you want him to stop?" "I want my life back," I said. "I want my mom to stop forwarding me his essays. I want my boss never to say abuse to me again unless I bring it up. I want to plan my wedding without wondering who got a manifesto that morning." "Then we start with a letter," she said. "Not nuclear, a line in the sand." She told me to keep documenting everything. Meanwhile, he escalated. He texted Adam from a new number. "If you care about her at all, let her go. You're not good for her. You know it, I know it. Don't make me be the only one who says it." There was a line about, "I'm happy to be the bad guy in your story if it keeps her alive." Adam blocked that number too. Then my future mother-in-law called, voice tight. "Why is a man I've met 3 times sending me a 3-page email about my son's pattern of control?" she asked. "Is there something I need to know?" He'd done it again. Concerned friend letter, this time to her, peppered with half-true stories from years ago framed as isolation and emotional volatility. I told her the truth. She listened very quietly and finally said, "He's not coming anywhere near this wedding. If he steps on the property, my brother will have him removed." It was reassuring and horrifying at the same time. My friend of 13 years had become a security issue. Update 2. The engagement party was supposed to be the easy part. No vendor drama, just people we love in a room with bad Prosecco and a crooked "she said yes" banner. My maid of honor booked a private room at a restaurant. Adam's parents, my mom, siblings, cousins, a few coworkers, maybe 30 people. Liam was not invited. That should go without saying, but I've already been asked if I was sending mixed signals. I'd blocked him. He was off the guest list. I did not send out a bulletin explaining why. You don't email. By the way, my former best friend is in love with me and harassing my HR department. Halfway through the evening, the door to the private room opened. The vibe shifted before I even saw him. He walked in with a gift bag and jeans and a button-down, like he'd just shown up late to any party. Several people said his name at once. My heart dropped. "Sorry I'm late," he said. "I just wanted to drop something off. I'll go, I promise. I couldn't not." He looked straight at me. There was that wounded sincerity that makes you feel cruel for having boundaries. "Liam, this isn't appropriate," I said. "I'm not staying," he said quickly. "I just brought you something for you, for all of this." He handed me the bag. If I refused, I'd be making a scene. If I took it, I was letting him set the terms again. All eyes were on us. I took it. Inside was a hardbound photo book. On the cover, our story. My stomach flipped. "I made it from all our old pictures," he said, voice thick. "Just memories, so you don't forget who you were before all this." Before all this. As if my relationship and upcoming marriage were some kind of contamination. "Thank you," I said automatically because I've been trained to be polite. "You really shouldn't have." He cut me off, glancing around the room. "I just want everyone to know I love her," he said. "I always have. I want her to be happy, that's all." Neat little line. If you didn't know the context, it sounded tragically sweet. Someone actually said, "Aw." Adam stood. "That's enough," he said. "You weren't invited. You need to go." I saw that flicker in Liam's eyes. He'd been hoping for this. He looked at me, not Adam. "You see," he said quietly. "He speaks for you now." Heat rushed up my neck. "Get out," I said. "Please, just go." He left. The room buzzed with awkwardness. People pretended to go back to their food. My mom looked like she wanted to both hug and scold me. I shoved the book under the table and tried to salvage the night. At home, Adam stared at the book like it might explode. "You don't have to look," he said. "We can throw it out." "I need to know what's in it," I said. If he's emailing HR, I need to know what he thinks is okay to put in print. The first pages were harmless: high school selfies, prom, graduation, captions with inside jokes. For a second, my chest ached. This was the version of us I used to believe in. Then it got twisted. College photos were split into two columns. Left, me and Liam at parties, at the lake, in the library. Captions like, "When you didn't need anyone else," and "The real you." Right? Photos of Adam and me clearly taken from social media. Captions like, "When he made you cry," and "When you started dimming." My hands started shaking. Then came screenshots of texts, vents I'd sent him years ago after fights with Adam. Under each, he'd written commentary. "You told me he raised his voice for an hour because you stayed late at work. You said I feel crazy when we fight. You slept on my couch that night." Reading my own lowest moments curated as exhibits against my fiancé was nauseating. Those were messages I sent in heat and hurt to someone I thought was neutral. There was a blurry photo of Adam and me arguing in a parking lot after a party. Caption, "When he promised he'd change." "We were arguing about whether I was okay to drive," I said. "You wanted to take a cab. You were right. That's what that was." Adam didn't say anything. He just rubbed his forehead. Later pages were just text. "The time you said he made you feel small. The night you canceled our plans because he didn't like you going out without him." Little moments I barely remembered, inflated into a pattern. Two narratives wrestled in my head. The reality I live in. Years of imperfect but solid love. The story he'd built. A grand case file proving Adam is a monster. "Why would he think this is okay?" I asked. "Who makes this and thinks perfect engagement gift?" "Someone who thinks your life is his story," Adam said. My phone pinged. An old college ex I haven't spoken to in years. "Hey, weird question. Is everything okay with your fiancé? Some guy reached out asking about how we used to fight. Said he was worried, felt off, so I wanted to let you know." He'd messaged my ex, digging for patterns. Something snapped. Up until then, I'd framed this as heartbreak plus bad boundaries. Sitting there with that book and that text, it finally registered. This wasn't just hurt. This was obsession. I emailed Nina, attached screenshots of the book, the HR email, the letter to my MIL, and my ex's message. Her reply, "We're past warning shot. Time for a formal cease and desist." For the first time since that night on my couch, I felt something like resolve instead of just guilt. Update 3. The cease and desist felt surreal. 3 pages on Nina's letterhead, laying out a pattern of harassment and interference with employment. HR email, letters to my mom and MIL, engagement stunt and book, messages to my ex. It ended with, "Stop contacting me, my employer, or my family about me, or we'd pursue a protective order and civil action." "Do you want to see if this stops him?" Nina asked. "Or file for a protective order now?" "Let's try the letter first," I said. The words restraining order made me nauseous. This was still the boy who'd once walked me home from parties. My brain was slow catching up to who he'd become. Nina sent it. For about a day I felt steady, then he responded. Not to Nina, to me, and my mom, and my brother, and Adam's parents. A couple mutual friends for good measure. Subject: "I'm sorry you're being manipulated." Classic Liam. Long, emotional, self-pitying. He wrote that he was heartbroken to see me weaponizing lawyers against someone who only ever tried to protect me. He claimed he'd never lied, only shared concerns. He called Nina a vulture lawyer who smells blood in the water and implied I was being coached. "I know in his story I'm the bad guy," he wrote. "I can live with that. I can't live with waking up one day and reading about you in a hospital bed knowing I kept quiet." My mom called again. "He sounds so desperate," she said. "Are you sure this isn't being blown out of proportion?" "Did you read the part where he called Adam abusive?" I asked. "The part where he said I'm too brainwashed to see it? How is that love?" She sighed. "I just remember how he was," she said. "It's hard not to." "I get it. It's hard for me too." Nina, on the other hand, was almost relieved. "He's making the pattern clearer," she said. "We document this. If he keeps going, he's building your case." A few days later, one of my bridesmaids sent screenshots. A long, vague Facebook post Liam had made. Black background, white text. He wrote about watching someone you love walk into an abusive marriage and being gagged when you speak up, about being painted as a stalker for not wanting to attend a wedding that feels like a funeral, about stepping back now because I have no choice. If something happens, at least I'll know I tried. No names, he didn't need them. Half the people reading had been at my engagement party. Comments were mixed. You did what you could, man. If you really care, stop posting about it. A couple clearly knew who it was about and basically told him to knock it off. I felt sick, not because I believed him, but because I could see how compelling that narrative is. Noble friend punished for caring too much. Evil fiancé, brainwashed bride. He turned my life into content. Then my boss pulled me aside after a meeting. Just so you know, she said. We got a second email. Same concerned tone. IT quarantined it. We're not opening anything. But this person isn't letting up. That was it for me. It wasn't about a broken heart anymore. He was actively, repeatedly trying to damage my career, my relationships, and my sense of safety. I sat in my car and ugly cried until my chest hurt. Not just over him, over the version of myself that had trusted him enough to hand him all that material. When I calmed down, I texted Adam, "Next step? Restraining order," I typed back to myself, then sent to both him and Nina. I'm done waiting for him to find a conscience. I cried, hitting send. I also felt, for the first time in months, like I was actually doing something instead of just reacting. Update 4. I didn't picture my wedding including a security briefing. After I told Nina I was ready, she explained, "We'd file for a protective order, but courts are slow. In the meantime, we needed practical safety." Adam's parents hired a security company. 2 plainclothes guys, one at the entrance, one near the ceremony. They had Liam's photo. "If he shows up, they'll handle it," Adam's mom said. "You won't have to." We told the venue, the officiant, my brother, Adam's brother. Quietly we turned, "Don't let him get near her," into a coordinated plan. Therapy became our anchor. Our counselor started every session with the same question. If Liam didn't exist, how would you feel about this marriage? Every time, both of us answered, good, excited, normal, nervous. That became my test. Strip him out of the story. What's left? 2 flawed people choosing each other. That mattered more than any narrative he was selling. On the day, my phone buzzed nonstop. I ignored social media on purpose. I didn't want his voice in my head while I put on my dress. The venue was beautiful. White chairs, flowers, string quartet, my brother pacing like a nervous chaperone. "Security's at the gate," he said. "You don't need to think about it." I thought about it anyway. Every car pulling in made my heart jump. Every broad-shouldered silhouette at the edge of my vision made me tense. Then the ceremony started. Walking down the aisle and seeing Adam's face, red-rimmed eyes, terrified and sure at the same time, something inside me finally loosened. For 20 minutes, it was just us, the vows, and our families. I didn't trip. Adam cried. People laughed at the right places. Nobody said, "If anyone objects." We kissed. People clapped. For a while, it felt like the version of the day I'd always pictured. I didn't find out he'd shown up until later. We were taking photos when Adam's brother came over. "Don't freak out," he said. "Security handled it. He never got in." He told us that about 20 minutes before the ceremony, Liam had appeared at the end of the driveway with a sign. He stayed on the public sidewalk, just close enough to be seen by arriving guests. The sign read, "Ask me why she's not safe." Security recognized him, went out. They reminded him he could stay on the sidewalk but couldn't step onto the venue's land. He argued, paced, shouted something about everyone being complicit. A couple guests saw and were hurried inside. He left before the ceremony. Hearing it after the fact, in my wrinkling dress, I felt weirdly detached. Of course he'd come. Of course there was a sign. "What do you want to do?" Adam asked. "We don't have to pretend it didn't happen." "I want to dance with my husband," I said. So we did. We danced, we ate, we listened to speeches. My maid of honor roasted Adam. My brother made everyone cry talking about finally seeing me with someone who looks at me the way Adam does. At one point, I caught my mom watching me with relief and something like regret. Later, she squeezed my hand and said, "You look happy," in a way that told me she'd finally stopped seeing me through Liam's script. The next week, Nina filed for the protective order. We included everything. Emails, letters, book, posts, sign. Signing the affidavit felt like handing a stranger in a courthouse a disassembled record of the worst parts of my last year. I cried. Then I signed. I couldn't control the story he told himself or the internet about me. I could control who had access to my inbox, my boss, and my front door. That had to be enough. Final update 22 months later. It's been a little under 2 years. The loudest thing in my life now is the dishwasher, not someone else's opinion of my relationship. The court granted a 2-year protective order. The hearing was anticlimactic, no big speeches. Just me, Nina, a judge, and a stack of screenshots. Liam didn't look at me once. His lawyer argued he was a concerned friend and that his messages were clumsy attempts to intervene. Nina walked through the pattern. HR, family, in-laws, ex, engagement party, wedding sign. One action on its own might have been poor judgment. All of it together was a clear course of conduct. The judge granted the order. He's barred from contacting me, Adam, our immediate families or employers about me, and from coming within a set distance of our home and my workplace. We also settled a small civil claim. He agreed to pay part of my legal fees and to have his lawyer send clarifications to my HR and Adam's parents, stating that he had presented past incidents without full context and had no evidence of ongoing abuse. We didn't get the word lied. Lawyers don't give you that kind of satisfaction. But seeing his name under letters walking back his own dramatic emails mattered more than I expected. My boss gave me a copy. She also told me, "For the record, we believed you," which made me cry in the bathroom. His life did not dramatically implode. No one hauled him away. But there were consequences. His employer found out about the order when he was served at work. A few months later, his contract wasn't renewed. Some mutual friends still insist he's misunderstood. Others quietly backed away. He moved to another city. I know only because a cousin mentioned it once by accident. I don't look him up. As for us, we're okay. We stayed in counseling for a while, not because there was some hidden monster to uncover, but because having your relationship treated like a case file leaves weird residue. We had to relearn that conflict isn't evidence for outsiders. It's something you work through together. Our therapist had us list things we used to vent to other people about, and things we now only bring to each other. Seeing how often my first instinct used to be text Liam instead of talk to Adam was humbling. Now, when we argue, it stays in the room longer. We don't collect screenshots. We don't build cases. It's messier in the moment and healthier overall. My relationship with my family is still a work in progress. My mom apologized in her own understated way. One night after dinner, she watched Adam and me bicker about garlic and later said, "I'm sorry I believed him so easily. I think I liked the idea of someone always watching out for you because it made me feel less guilty about the times I didn't." We're not magically healed, but she hasn't forwarded me a single message from him since. When relatives call what he did romantic, she shuts it down faster than I do. Some extended family think I overreacted. They say things like, "He just cared too much," or "Lawyers were a bit extreme." I nod, change the subject, and keep my real life away from them. I'm done auditioning my reality for people who prefer the drama version. The thing I'm still unwinding is my own embarrassment. There is a specific humiliation in knowing someone cataloged your worst moments and presented them as proof you couldn't be trusted with your own life. For a while, I second-guessed every story I told anyone. Am I oversharing? Am I handing someone ammunition? That's easing. I have friends I trust. We vent, we send screenshots, we complain like normal people. The difference now is a quiet filter in my head. Does this person listen to support me or to feel like they understand me better than I understand myself? Do they respect my choices or act like they're waiting for me to wake up? If I feel someone enjoying my vulnerability a little too much or positioning themselves as the one who really knows me, I step back. That used to feel rude. Now it feels like basic safety. I don't expect some future apology from Liam. In his story, I will probably always be the woman he tried and failed to save. If he ever realizes what he actually did, that's between him and his conscience. My win isn't that his life blew up, it's that he's no longer in mine. I have a quiet apartment, a marriage I chose, a job where HR only emails about training modules, a mother who now hears romantic and mentally checks it against respectful, and a lawyer's card in my wallet I hope I never need again. It's not cinematic, it's just my life. Finally, not being treated as a tragic love story someone else thinks they're starring in. And after everything, that's more than enough.